Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Inside on Business. My name is Michael Libby. If you'd like to contact us, get in touch with us throughout the live edition of the program or at any time. We do monitor Twitter. It is at InsightADV. That's at Insight ADV. I've got to find somebody. Anybody got a suggestion? I want to talk to somebody about fashion because our studio is right downtown in what's called the financial district of Des Moines. Wells Fargo is down here. The insurance companies are down here. Several of them. And I gotta tell you, I'm not sure why people insist on wearing khakis everywhere. I mean, maybe on the weekends, but seriously, why would you want to look like a low-level employee? Pet peeve, kids, just a pet peeve. Dan Halstead is in the studio. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Dan. Dan, welcome. We're going to talk about. We got your. We got your logo, the whole thing going on there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming in. This was, and I got to admit, this was one of those last-minute deals. we had a guest scheduled for today, and then that didn't happen. And
I'm glad to help out. Glad I was available.
our good friend Tiffany Menke over at the Urbandale Chamber recommended you.
Absolutely.
Tiffany, I know that you're watching. Thanks very much for doing that. Our guest today is Dan Halstead. Dan has reinvented himself. He has started on a new career, having been in the printing and graphics business at one time, and also being with the company that you thought, we talked about last week, you thought you were going to be with forever.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
And that all kind of altered itself. And how long ago now? 3 months?
The new business. Now we've been in business for 3 months.
Yeah. What is Evolving Edge Design?
Evolving Edge Graphics is a simple. It's a printing company. We're in Urbandale. We specialize in large format printing. You say that to most people, and they don't know exactly what large format is. But I like to describe it as anything larger than a piece of paper. So we do signs, we do window graphics, vehicle wraps are what people most recognize as far as the wow factor in our industry, but really it's only about 10% of our total
this whole vehicle graphics thing, is kind of interesting. There are major brands out there that will pay you to have your car wrapped and then wander around in your mobile advertising for somebody. But even with that, it's got to be done sensibly, I would imagine.
There's certain things you're trying to accomplish when you do a wrap on a vehicle. You don't want to be too busy. You want to get your image out there. You want to keep it simple.
Absolutely, yeah. Simple is always great.
Absolutely.
The name Evolving Edge. Why?
A lot of thought went into that, trying to think ahead into the future, not necessarily what's catchy today. Evolving in the sense that it's constantly changing, constantly evolving, a lot like our industry. Digital printing it's still, I would say, in its infancy. We got away from regular press printing in the late 80s, and it's gone digital, and that changed the entire industry, and it's going to keep changing in the future.
Yeah, technology has enabled lots of new businesses to begin, and in yours,
and
yeah, exactly, yeah. That's the folks at Locust,
right,
at the Des Moines Register. Not that they're ending in any way, but they're evolving.
Absolutely.
I mean, everybody is evolving through this huge change due to technology. In your business, I've noticed that there's lots and lots and lots of sign companies.
There is.
Yeah, what in the world? Why would you want to get into such a competitive field?
I think what sets us apart is that we are a startup company, local, from scratch, here in town. A lot of the other companies in town are franchises with hundreds of locations. It's a good business model, and when you replicate it in different metropolitan areas across the country, it's profitable. And if you do it right, people recognize it. There's a tremendous need for it. I mean, even with the number of sign companies, printing companies in town, there's still a demand. There's plenty of customers out there because it is evolving, because people are getting away from traditional, flyers, traditional print media. Everything's kind of going social media and the internet, web-based. And then if it's not there, how else do you get people's attention?
Right.
So you're using your retail signage, vehicles, you're using anything.
We've got a couple of samples of some of your work, and I thought what we do, Ryan, is put up some of these so that folks out there. This is interesting. Here we have a hallway that has images all along the top and then some sayings along the bottom. And I suspect that the images we see here, we see food, we see families, we see children, have something to do with what's going on with the quarter below that.
Right. This particular project here was for a church, and they want to decorate the inside of the church. They want to have an area that's special for their congregation, that people, the church is taken, maybe different missions like that. So any digital files that are given to us to print on a large scale, and we can kind of put that and make something unique for them.
Will they change that from time to time?
They can.
Yeah.
Those particular graphics are repositionable, not
Really?
permanent solutions. So, there's no damage to the church later on if they do decide to
So they can take those down, put something else
Right.
up, just to keep timely with what's going
Right.
on. All right, very interesting. Here's another shot. This is kind of obviously it's a restaurant somewhere, but you're making the food come alive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The local municipalities have their guidelines and their laws on square
Sure.
footage of advertising for the businesses, and so you try to make the most efficient use of that square footage, catch people's eye, something like that, really keeping it simple. You're not putting a whole bunch of text. You're not putting
Oh,
the entire
yeah.
menu
I know.
on there.
I know.
You're getting your message out.
Show that image again, would you, Ryan? This is so. This is kind of cool. We've got some kind of wraps, salads, ice cream, and pizza. Sounds like a great diet. At least some of them. But make this come now. Who comes up with this idea?
We work with a lot of marketing agencies, a lot of advertising agencies that have that close personal relationship with the client.
Yeah.
And, they're the experts really as far as creative, they have think tanks of creative people sitting around all day working on branding, thinking. They know that particular customer's industry, and they're helping them do that. And then there are times when we have somebody that comes straight to us. Maybe they have a lower budget to work advertising agency. We have a lot of great ideas and applications to help them out.
Dan Halstead, ladies and gentlemen, is our guest in studio. We're talking about the world of visual advertising as they pertain to signage. We've really changed a whole bunch over the past few years. It used to be you would put up a sign, and that sign wouldn't necessarily be three-dimensional. It could be, flat up against a wall, but there's lots of building codes out there that people are demanding three-dimensional signs. They're demanding that you can see through the windows. For example, I know of other businesses that you can see out of the window, but you can't see in. The same with, I think, car wraps and things like that. Are all those kinds of things stuff that you do?
As far as medias that we print on, there are thousands upon thousands of different types of medias with different applications. Everything from the adhesive that's on there, how long it's supposed to be on there, and then when you're talking about window graphics and such, you see through one way. 50% of that media is missing that you're printing on.
Right.
And from the other side, you can still see through those holes, and countless applications.
Yeah.
It's tough to stay on top of it all as far as knowing what's out there, because it's changing all the time.
Absolutely. Ryan, do we have another image? No, we don't. Oh, okay. There was one that I saw, and I thought that I had picked it out to send it. It was for a furniture store. And what I believe you've done, and very, very nicely, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is really cool. What he went and did is you took the picture of the interior of the store and then put it on the outside
Right.
of the window, so that the look is that you're seeing this really well lit, well appointed furniture store.
Right.
That I thought was amazing.
And everybody is trying to be unique with their window graphics or with their signage for the outside of the building. That in the old days when people did signs, you were looking for uniformity. You were looking for a complex where all the signs were uniform and everybody's name was on there. But now, when you're doing those window graphics, you're doing a cutaway to the inside of the building, maybe exaggerated, blown up images of what's inside the building, because you only have a couple seconds really to reach
Absolutely.
the customer's eye, and you want to very simply, very quickly, your message is, hey, this is what's inside, this is why you want to be
We're talking with Dan Halstead, ladies and gentlemen, from Evolving Edge, and we're talking about signage, what's new in this industry. He was gracious enough to come in and visit with us here at Insight on Business about his brand new business. Has only been around for 3 months. Pretty amazing. When we come back, we're going to talk about what's new in his industry. What are people taking a look at? What are his customers asking for when it comes to placement of different signs? Also, we're going to talk about trade shows. We've got 2 big issues with trade shows, and I'll bet you Dan and I are on the same page. Dan Halstead, ladies and gentlemen, in the studio with Insight on Business, the News Hour. We'll be back with more right after